Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. The Canadians find a way to play a really great 60-minute performance and beat the Nashville Predators 4-1 in Nashville. A great, as I said, 60-minute performance there. That is an absolutely clinical performance by the Canadians. Very, very impressed with their game there. Obviously that improves them to a 4-game win streak, gives them 92 points and keeps them, solidly in a 2-point lead for that third in the Atlantic position. And again, obviously we keep talking about it, none of these other teams seem to be going away, so we need to keep winning games as much as possible. And the Canadians do a great job in this one of making sure that that continues to be the case. We stay, on top of Boston and everybody else of the rest of the pack, and we put ourselves in a great position to, secure a playoff spot at some point over the next, what is now 10 games left of the NHL season, as this was game 72 right there. So actually, to be more precise, we have 9 games left in the NHL season. I think either way, 9 or 10 games left. Yeah, a great performance, 60-minute performance there. The Canadians just from the opening faceoff played very well and just did not slow down as the entire game went along. There was no backing down from these the Predators here. They really showed that they are a team to be wary of, a team to watch out for as we go into the last couple of games of the season here and into the playoffs hopefully. So yeah, I think that was a great performance. Like a team deserving of a playoff spot, and a team that really showed that they were the better team in this one. So we go into the game here again, we were dominating shots, dominating pretty much everything in this game. It takes 11:34 into the first period for us to find a goal, but it's Ivan Demidov who absolutely just snipes one. He kind of walks in on the right wall there and just kind of goes in, snipes in the low, far side, posting in. Great shot there. So you gotta love that. It's his 16th goal of the season. All Nick Suzuki has to do is get the puck to him for his 63rd assist of the season. So great effort there. That's exactly what you want to see. Ivan Demidov heating up a little bit in the goal column recently, which is a good thing to see. A great shot, goes posting in far side. So very nice, great way to open up the goal scoring. It's one of those things where we're dominating the game, we're doing really well, and everything except for putting the puck in the net. So it's one of those things where it's like you got to be wary of. You don't want the next bounce to be an unlucky bounce that goes the way of Nashville, and all of a sudden we're down one. So it's always good to get that first goal there and get established a little bit into the game. Ivan Demidov does just that, and we take a 1-0 lead into the first intermission. Into the second period, we really heat up. We score 3 goals there, starting with Oliver Kapanen. Gets his 22nd goal of the season there. A lot of just like a barrage around the net. We just keep putting pucks around the net. And then Newhook from behind the net passes, in between Saros and the net there, through the crease, and Kapanen pretty much in the crease at that point. He's able to just tap it in on a pretty much wide open net at that point. So great work. That second line there with Demidov, Newhook, and Kapanen there. They all played very, very well. They all had a goal in this one. So that line was proving to be very, very successful there. Obviously, Demidov scoring in that first period, and then Kapanen gets his 22nd of the season by tapping that one in off a nice pass from Newhook. Newhook gets his 11th assist of the season there, and Lane Hutson his 60th assist of the season. So I believe that ties his record from last year for assists. It was a great work from Lane Hutson there. I thought he had a little bit of a better game here. I feel like there's still a couple things that I'm not thrilled about with Lane Hutson's game lately, just decision making wise and all that kind of stuff. But obviously he continues to put the points up there, and that's exactly what we want to see from him. 60 assists is no small feat there. He's doing very, very well for himself, and the Canadians doing well. They get that 2-0 lead there. And then, of course, it's Mr. Saturday Night himself, Cole Caulfield. He has a nice kind of sequence there that allows him to get this goal here. We were doing a whole lot of forechecking, a lot of pressure in the offensive zone. A Nashville player at one point gets the puck, and Cole Caulfield bodies him to the ground, which is not something you see every day from 5'7" Cole Caulfield burying a guy, but you love to see that. He buries him, gets the puck from Nick Suzuki, walks in, and just snipes this one 5-hole for his 45th goal of the season. So now only 5 goals away from that 50-goal season for Cole Caulfield. That is an absolute accomplishment. He's doing very, very well. Obviously, we still have 10 more games left in the NHL season, so it'll be interesting to see, where he goes from here, if he's able to get that additional 5 more. Obviously, we have to watch the stats a little bit for what Nathan McKinnon is able to do. He's up to 48 goals now, unfortunately for us. But it'll be interesting to see what happens as we go into the final few games here. If he's able to pop off, have another hat trick performance or something like that, maybe we can celebrate him winning the Rocket Richard Trophy as well. So you really never know. It's anybody's game at this point for for that Rocket race, and Cole Caulfield has done a heck of a job. Continuing to put pucks in for the Canadians and finding ways to score on every night. Really, he's Mr. Every night, but especially on Saturdays, he finds a way and he scores his 45th here. Suzuki gets his 64th assist on that one as well. And then finally, just to cap it off, right, we had to get all three of those guys on that second line to score a goal there. It'll be Alex Newhook, who scores his 11th of the season on this one. It's just another barrage of chances in the offensive zone. Ivan Demidov doing a whole lot of work there. He gets a nice pass and puts one, I think, off the post, gets the puck right back from his shot off the post, makes a really nice toe drag move. He sets up sets up Newhook on the backhand there. Newhook is able to one-time that one in on the onside there, and put that one past Saros there for his 11th of the season. So, great work by all three of those guys. They're all doing great jobs there. Obviously, like Newhook, he's been great ever since he's been back. He hasn't missed a beat since he got injured or whatever. So, and the Demidov, a really great assist there. So, it's good to see all of those guys making things work out there. It's good to see, those guys getting to work. It's a real solid second line. It looks like it's been building there ever since, Newhook got back, and, Slavkovsky's been put up to the top line there. I feel like both of those lines are going really, really well right now, so it is very good to see. So Newhook gets his 11th a goal there. Obviously, Ivan Demidov his 40th assist of the season, so congratulations there. That's big. Get that 40 assists in the rookie year there, very cool. And then Kapanen gets his 15th assist of the season on that one as well. So very nice. All three of those guys get points on that one. So a great night for all three of those guys in the bottom line and that second line there. And then we pretty much, shut them down from there on out. Nothing goes on for the remainder of the second period. Most of the third period is pretty boring. Zachary LaRue gets a goal in the third period, a really unfortunate one at that. It's just like they had nothing going on. There was no way they were going to score normally on us. We were playing very, very well on both sides of the ice, but of course a dump in, goes, nicely off of a stanchion. And then it just kind of squirts out right to the front of the net. Fowler is expecting it to be kind of on his right side, but it ends up popping out in front of the net on the left side. And, nobody knows where it is except for LaRue, and he's able to put that one home to give them a little bit of life. Not really. Didn't really help them too much. It only, crushes Fowler's shutout performance, which is unfortunate because Fowler had a great night in this one. He made some good saves. But, yeah, that is pretty much the only, bright spot in the entirety of the game for Nashville in that one. Unfortunately for them, the Canadians were able to own them in pretty much every other category there. They outshot them 32-24. Did pretty well in pretty much all categories in this one. So it's a very, very nice game overall. Unfortunate that Fowler isn't able to come away with a shutout there, but we'll take the performance that we got there, and it's good to see him making saves. It looks like him and Dobesh are pretty solid as a 1-2 punch for us in terms of goaltending, which is hilarious because I feel like only a month ago maybe we were concerned about maybe we're going to trade for Binnington or something like that, and all of a sudden now our goaltenders are playing like they're both Carey Price on a Saturday night. So hey, can't complain about that. That is a great thing to have when we have some goaltending to work for us. I think we're also just doing a whole lot of a better job defending the front of the net and just defending in general in our zone. I think the only thing that I can say, like critique-wise, from this game and then kind of a bleed over from some of the other games, I feel like our transition defense has got to improve a little bit there. I feel like there's a lot of times where the Canadians are pushing it offensively. We're not able to make anything happen, and all of a sudden, there's a couple breakaways that happen in this game, a couple 2-on-1s, all that kind of stuff, just because we don't have defensemen back in the position they need to be in. And obviously, when you have guys like Lane Hudson and Noah Dobson Habs and all those guys who are very talented offensively. It makes sense that those risks are going to be taken, but some of those goals definitely could have gone in there and made this game a little bit more interesting if Fowler hadn't been sharp. So I feel like our transition defense, being able to prevent odd man rushes and stuff, is something that the Canadians need to continue working on. Just being more aware of what's going on in transition and making sure that we're available for a defensive play when that needs to happen. So that's kind of my biggest critique. But other than that, I think we're firing on all cylinders. This is a very solid 60-minute performance. We did not let up in the entire game. It very easily could have been 7 or 8 nothing in this one if a couple more goals had gone in. Juuse Saros obviously played a very solid game as well. So a very solid performance. Ivan Demina gets that first star. Slav somehow gets the third star, even though he didn't get any points, but I won't complain. Gotta love Slav. But yeah, again, this is a very big win for us. Obviously, it doesn't always feel like big wins, but it puts us at 92 points there. It is actually one more point than the Canadians got all last season. We ended up with 91 points and made the playoffs last year. Does not look like 91 points is going to make the cut this year for any team currently in the race. Yeah, obviously Columbus has 87 points and they're sitting in that second wild card position. So it's good to see obviously getting that constant improvement. We're getting better as as the years go by in this rebuild here. But obviously with 10 more games left to play, we got to continue to fight, continue to be tenacious in getting those points, because obviously Columbus isn't slowing down. Boston isn't slowing down. The Islanders are back in second in the Metro now. So there's so many teams that could be up and down right now. Obviously Detroit, Ottawa, those are teams that are also doing very well right now. So it's everybody is fighting for those playoff spots right now. It is not even remotely safe to just kind of put the brakes on and load manage in these last 10 games. So we have to continue to be sharp, continue to find ways to get points, get wins as we go into the final 10 games here. But it kind of looks like to me that the Canadians are finding their form here. They're really finding that flow that they need to have as we go into the playoffs here. And if they continue to play the way that they did tonight, I don't think that there's very many teams that can stop the Canadians from getting points and clinching the playoffs at some point in the remaining 10 games here. So that is pretty much all I have for this one. A very solid performance again. We're continuing to find regulation wins as well. We're about to get our 30th regulation win. That'll be our next win in regulation, is our 30th. So making some ground a little bit in that tiebreaker column. Obviously, a lot of overtime wins hasn't really been helpful for us, but we take what we can get in terms of points there. So again, just got to continue to find ways to get points. We have no rest here. Tomorrow we are playing a rematch against the Carolina Hurricanes there, another really solid team, top 5 team in the NHL, who's probably not thrilled about how their game against us went the last time. So we got to be ready for them to push on home ice and try to find a way to get a couple more points. So that is again all I have for this one. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you after hopefully at least a point, hopefully 2, against the Hurricanes tomorrow.